Welcome to this episode of Ink It Up with Jessica TV. I'm Jessica Taylor, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do rainbow stamping. So my version of rainbow stamping is literally taking a small stamp and stamping it in the shape of a rainbow in a variety of rainbow colors. So it's easier when you use a clear stamp that is like these stars are a totally clear stamp that you can see through, so it's easier to place. Stampin' Up! Calls these photopolymer stamps. So I'm going to show you how to stamp the rainbow with that, as well as how to stamp the rainbow when you have a rubber stamp, like a wood mount stamp or a clear mount stamp. It's a little bit more time consuming because I used the stamp-a-ma-jig to get perfect placement. So I'm going to show you how to do that after I show you how to use the clear stamp or photopolymer stamp. So let's go ahead and get started. You're going to want to have a piece of scratch paper underneath your cardstock that you're stamping on because your rainbow is going to go off of the edges. This piece of paper is 3.5 inches by 5 inches, and you can really start with any size that you want, but I liked how this fit on my card. And so the colors that I used for stamping are Real Red, Pumpkin Pie, Daffodil Delight, Emerald Envy, Pacific Point, and Elegant Eggplant. So these are all ink pads from Stampin' Up! I started with the darkest purple down here, and I guess I say darkest, but it's the reason I start with it is because it's down in the corner. So I found that it was easiest to start my rainbow down here in the corner and then work my way out. So let's go ahead and get started doing the stamping. Now, depending on the small stamp that you choose, this might take a little bit of trial and error, but I found with this star, it worked best if I switched it up. So next time I would turn it around so that the biggest star is on top. And I'm just gonna start by making just a little curve with that. And I can make it more curved as I go out with my colors. But there I'm just starting the little curve with my stars. So that is the Elegant Eggplant. Now I'm gonna have to clean my stamp in between each of these colors. So I'll just show you quickly how I do that. And I use the Stampin' Scrub Pad from Stampin' Up! One side of it is wet. I just spray a little Stampin' Mist on it and clean it off on the wet side, dry it on the dry side, and that's how I clean my stamp before I go to the next color. Next, we're gonna stamp the next rainbow color is Pacific Point. So again, I'm just gonna alternate which way I have my stars going. Now I did something on this row that I did not do when I stamped my samples, and that is when I stamp my samples, I always started in the middle of the row, and now I can see why, because it's easier to see where your curve is going if you start in the middle. So there's my blue line. Next, I'm gonna stamp my Emerald Envy line. And like I mentioned, I'm going to start in the middle and then rotate my stamp each time. I'm really paying more attention to the outside line than the inside, because when I'm done, I want my red to look more like a rainbow, like an arc. So you'll see I kind of turn my paper as I'm doing the stamping too. Okay, and there is my green line. Next, my yellow is Daffodil Delight. So once again, I'll start in the middle. My tip for any stamping like this is don't overthink it. Once you stamp something, it might look a little off if you just look at that stamped image, but when you look at the overall look, it's gonna look great. Okay, so there's my yellow line. Next, I'm gonna come back in with Pumpkin Pie. Again, starting in the middle and just rotating this stamp each way. Every little stamp that you choose to do this with is gonna be a little bit different, so you might just have to play with it. There's my orange line. And finally, we'll come in with Real Red for the final arc. Let's see. So this is the one where you really want to pay attention to your outside arc more than the inside. And even, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is handmade, so you want each one to be different. So you'll see as I was stamping the red one, I missed a little bit of the star. That still looks fine, but I left a little extra smudge up here. You want to be really careful when you're stamping this because you're doing so much stamping. If you do it too fast, then your ink won't have dried, and if you do that and put your hand in it, it's going to leave extra smudges. So I want to show you what you can do when that happens. So when I made this card, I didn't have any extra smudges, so I just left it plain white. But when I stamped my first butterfly card, I got lots of little red smudges up here. So I decided to take a stamping sponge and just sponge all over and make the rainbow extend so that it covered up those smudges. Then I sponged inside the rainbow as well. And to do that, I took a stamping sponge. It comes as a round, big sponge, and cut it into these little slivers so that it was small enough to just dab this in my ink and then dab it over my butterflies. So if you do find yourself getting extra smudges, that's one way that you can cover it up, fix it, make it look like you meant to do it. Okay, so when you have a wood mount stamp or a clear mount stamp that's red rubber, it's harder to see where you're stamping your image, which makes it a lot more difficult to stamp, in this case, your butterflies in a rainbow pattern. So what I did was I used my favorite stamp positioning tool, my stamp-a-ma-jig, and it has this black kind of T-bar and a plastic sheet. So to use this, you want to put your plastic sheet right up in the corner of that T-bar, and you're going to ink up your stamp and then put your stamp right in the corner. So once this butterfly is on the sheet, I can just keep using the same butterfly over and over and over to position my butterfly. So I'm going to start again with a 3.5 inch by 5 inch piece of white paper. Once again, I'm going to start down in the corner, and I'm just going to put this butterfly and position it right on my paper where I want it. Then I'm going to take this black T-bar, put it right on the corner of the plastic sheet, move the plastic sheet without throwing it on the floor, ink up my stamp, and then stamp it right in the corner. And that's going to give me my butterfly right where I want it. I can position this again. So I'm going for that curve, put the black piece back on the corner, move the plastic sheet, ink up my stamp again, stamp it right in the corner. So it's right where I want to be. What you want to be careful with is as you move this and this sheet over what you've already stamped, it's easy to smear the ink. So you really want to take your time with this so that you don't smear what you've already stamped. And then we would move on to the next color. Okay, so now I'm going to position my butterfly so it is not straight in line, but I'm going to offset it so that it's kind of covering both of my first layer of butterflies. Put my black piece back on the corner, and then I'll ink up my stamp with Pacific Point and stamp with my stamp right in the corner. So then you just go on to where your next one will be. Ink up your stamp, stamp right in the corner. Again, you notice that the first one I stamped was in the middle, and I just find it easier to go from the center than to go from one side to the other. So I'm going to take this out here. And then I may stamp one more down here so that the blue color extends all the way. Now this is where you need to be careful. When you put your black bar down and it's not covering any of your cardstock, sometimes your cardstock will shift. So you may just want to have one finger on your paper, one finger on your T, and then stamp right down in the corner, like so. And then I'd clean my stamp and go on to the next color. Every rainbow that you stamp is going to be a little bit different based on the stamp that you choose to stamp it with and just how you stamp it. But that's great because in card making, we want each card to be a little bit unique. Also, I want to point out that if you get an extra smudge or quote unquote mess up in any way, there's always a way to fix it. You can sponge, you can stamp an extra little butterfly and pop it up over top of your smudge. You can put your greeting, punch it out in a different shape and put that over top as well. There's so many ways that you can fix those mistakes. Really, we like to say there are no mistakes in stamping, just opportunities for creativity. So I hope that you try this technique, and I would love to see the cards that you make with it. So please share them over on my Facebook page at facebook.com/inkitup. Every Sunday night, we have a Sunday night show and tell share where you can share the cards that you're making, and we would love to see your rainbow stamping technique cards. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Happy stamping!